Hi everyone, Paul Akers here. In one of my recent posts, I said average sucks because, basically we don't push ourselves very hard. We really don't know what our potential is. And I started training for an Ironman. And you know what? It's pretty tough, but I was shocked how much I actually could accomplish as a 55-year-old. I started swimming for a couple miles in the ocean. This time, I'm traveling around the world for the 5th time in 1 year, and I'm going to run everywhere and document that. First stop, St. Louis. The next stop, Santiago, Chile. Now, Santiago is a beautiful city, much warmer than St. Louis was. And I started running, and in the backdrop is the highest building in South America. Santiago is a pretty modern city, and as I traveled around, I got to see a lot of cool things, the sights and sounds. Santiago is a very interesting place. People are out and about, lots of people. I had to dodge that was running, but very festive, and this girl was in the subway playing her accordion. She was fantastic. Stopped at a restaurant, got some great fuel to fuel my body, and then out to Easter Island. Now, Easter Island is crazy. It's known for these fantastic Moai statues all over the island, and I got to run in front of those, then up to the volcano and to the crater. Every time I turned around, I was running in a different, more beautiful location than the last. Now, these Moai are everywhere, and they're huge. And when I was in one of the national parks, the park ranger took off his shirt and he said, "Man, you look pretty buff, man." And he wanted to do a pose with me. He was absolutely hysterical. This is the park ranger. Can you believe that? So I'm just having the greatest time, and we got the sunrise coming up, but I'm there with Morgan and Lisa and my wife, and we had a fun time. And Morgan's a helicopter pilot. He's certifiably crazy like I am. And we did a lot of beautiful things and saw a lot of beautiful things. And we were with a group of some other people as well. We had a lot of great food, drank some great wine, and Morgan, well, he's leaning it out in his underpants there as he traveled around the island. But I was always looking for a new place to run when I was on the island, and it was just really something. One day we were running short on time. We went into this restaurant. We asked Mike, can you make the food really quick?
Minutes. Can we do it?
And Mike wasn't kidding. His crew came back just 5 minutes later with the most fantastic ceviche with ahi and red onion. It was over the top, and Leanne got an incredible salad with grilled ahi. Mike's from Cuba, and he told us he goes out and catches all this stuff on a long line, and he brought out an Oahu to show us. This guy was over the top.
So if you're going to Easter Island or Rapa Nui, make sure you check out Neptune Island Restaurant. Mike is an amazing guy. And as we went around the island, we got some spectacular footage of things, frankly, I'd never seen before. Look at these waves crash on the shore. Isn't this crazy? It looks like National Geographic. Well, we have our ways of getting these amazing shots, and hopefully you're enjoying this as much as we enjoy capturing this awesome footage all over Easter Island. Then on the morning on the last day, we drove out one more time just for sunrise, and I ran around the statues, and I got this time lapse of the sunrise. It was absolutely spectacular. When we got on the plane, it was a 787 Boeing Dreamliner, and I asked, "Can I go up in the front cockpit?" And the pilot said, "Yes, go ahead." Can you believe it? And then off to Buenos Aires, and this is an amazing city as well. Beautiful, vibrant, a lot of great French architecture. And we actually ate at someone's house at night. And in the morning I got up and I ran my best time ever, 6-minute miles. It was just absolutely incredible. It was pouring rain. I almost didn't run, but I said, man, I'm not leaving my dream in the graveyard. I'm gonna make it happen. So I went out and ran, and then we had a fantastic lesson for tango, and this couple was just incredible. They taught us how to tango, and I did pretty good with Leanne, and believe it or not, I actually could move a little bit. And I went up on top and I asked them to open up the roof of the hotel so I could get this sunset shot. It was, wow, crazy good. We had such a beautiful time, and in the evening we went out and we went shopping and walking around. We found a lot of great places, beautiful parks to go in, and we found this place that was a wine and cheese shop and really beautiful meats, and the guy came out, he
gave us cheese, and we took pictures with him, and he had wine in gallon buckets, and this gal was buying there, and she said, I'll take a picture with you, and this is Martin, the owner, and we went to antique stores, and we had great food and open air restaurants. It was all so incredible. And then we went to a tango bar. We actually saw some world-class tango dancing like nothing I've ever seen before. It was over the top cool. And next, Patagonia. Here we come. We're gonna have the most epic footage you've ever seen.
So in the morning on our last day in Buenos Aires, I went for a run out in the park, had a great time. Then we went out to the airport, got on the plane, went out to Bariloche, landed. It was absolutely beautiful. We came to our hotel, which was nestled right on the side of a hillside. And Leanne and I stayed out in a lodge out on a golf course on one of the other lakes that was absolutely beautiful as well. That evening we went out to dinner at a fantastic little grill nestled away up in the woods, and they had the most fantastic lamb and steak and every kind of meat you could imagine. They let us into the kitchen and we just had a ball. Man, was it delicious. Next morning we woke up, we went out along the lake. It was a little cloudy, started to rain a little bit. We went up to the top of a lookout on a chairlift. We got some great pictures, even a picture with the entire group looking out over Patagonia. We rode down the chairlift. We went out along the lake again, a little rainy, saw some condors, just beautiful. And then we went for an incredible hike in the woods. We learned all kinds of things from Santiago, or Sandy, our guide. And he taught us all kinds of interesting things about the forest.
This is already gone. This is in
and then as we hiked along, we saw these incredible trees. There's kind of a species of eucalyptus, and their bark is fantastic. And because it had been raining, it really was exaggerated. So they grow this way because of a fungus that attacks the tree. And then from there we went to a brewery, and Thomas, the brewmaster, gave us a great lecture on how he makes beer. Now, he was one of the very first ones in Bariloche to start a microbrewery. He told us all about the hops and the grain and everything that goes into making a great brew. Of course, in case of an injury, drink beer. Then we got to do some beer tasting, had some great food, and then we took another hike the next day, and this time the weather was perfect. We hiked up to this ridge. We got spectacular footage. And it was the most beautiful day. We went for about a 4-mile hike, great exercise, and we enjoyed Patagonia in all of its splendor and beauty. We got some fantastic pictures up at the top of the mountain. The four of us really had a good time. And then we rode down the gondola, got back into town, and the next thing we were going to do was go to a ranch to go horseback riding. Santi showed us the mate drink, and we shared that, and the horses were prepared by Pancho and his team, and we were about ready to go out and experience what a real gaucho lives like in Patagonia. And it was really a great experience as well. Very peaceful, very relaxing, just out in nature. We want to give you a perspective from up above. It was really a beautiful area, gentle rolling hills. The horses seemed to love it. We loved it. Nice breeze. Again, great weather. We had a nice 45-minute ride. All of us really enjoyed ourselves. Then I took a little siesta for a few minutes, walked through the garden, saw the farm animals, particularly this cat, which was just great. And then into their home for an authentic meal with an Argentinian family. The food was fantastic. The wine was great. Their family just prepared the most delicious food. We had all kinds of meats, ribeye, we had lamb, we had chorizo. Pancho's father served it all up. It was crazy, crazy good. So that ended our third day in Bariloche, and did we have a great time. It was so beautiful. Next stop, Puerto Varas, and it is absolutely spectacular. We spent the day driving there around the lake and through Patagonia, and we saw beautiful sights everywhere we went. But one of the coolest things we did was we stopped at this little farm, a dairy farm, where the dairy farmer had collected the largest collection of Studebakers outside the United States. It was really kind of like, wow. They had this beautiful restaurant and then these fantastic cars. Everywhere you look, they had Studebakers, every vintage from back in the very beginning to the most current ones. And Puerto Varas was absolutely stunning, a beautiful little town.
So on the first night when we got into Puerto Varas, we went to this amazing restaurant where all the locals go, and the owner actually cooks all the steak right there in front of you, right near the table. He let me film everything. He's just cooking like crazy. We had Chilean sea bass. We had fresh king crab that they pulled out of it and sauteed. It was like nothing I've ever had. Fantastic Chilean wine. And we had the best waiter. Wait until you meet this guy. He speaks 4 languages and he learned it all on his own.
Hi, my name is Gonzalo. I'm a one-way waitress.
And how many languages do you speak?
4 language.
And you learned English on your own?
By myself.
And tell me about this restaurant, because we are eating here. We love it. Why is it so good?
We have king crab. We have abalone. We have all the things you can find in all of it in just in Puerto Varas.
Even abalone? You didn't tell me you had abalone. You held out on me.
Look, how it
Abalone, man.
Yeah, it's the
this
same
is my
one.
favorite thing in the whole world. I woke up super early as the sun was coming up over the mountains and the lake and did a nice run. It was incredible, but very cold. And then we went up to the volcano. It was incredible. I went up there and I hiked and I ran, and it was just absolutely amazing. Got way above the cloud line, right at the edge of the glacier, and it was just, well, incredible. I was all by myself. There was nobody else up there as the sun was coming up. It was absolutely spectacular. So as I descended down the mountain, I did this time lapse going right into the clouds. It was incredible. It was very overcast, but down below, the sun actually started to come out again as we crossed the river with this man who has a homestead on a national park, very unusual. And we actually ate lunch at his home with his family. They cooked for us. We had just an incredible time. And Carlene makes a great comment here. You ready? Hey, Carlene, what's your famous saying?
Boys will be boys, and thank God.
Well, needless to say, that comment was probably directed at myself and Morgan, because we're always screwing around and having a great time and just enjoying ourselves, laying outside with the dogs. The dogs are wonderful in Chile. We just had a fantastic time. They're very friendly, and everybody's got them, and they're roaming the streets as well as in people's homes. And then an F-16 went overhead. That was incredible. Very unusual to see that. And then we had a little talk from the man and his wife about how they settled the area and how they met, and it was just the cutest story in the world. And the man said to the woman, "Honey, do you like that mountain up there?" And she says, "Yes, I love that mountain." "Well, it can be yours if you'll be mine." And then we got back in the boat and went back across the river, did a little time lapse here. We had such a good time. Weather was spectacular, and Santi did the translation, and we got a picture of Leanne and Anne.
And we had a beautiful backdrop with the volcano on a blue sky day. And then we went on to another national park where they had beautiful waterfalls, and we saw the salmon actually spawning right in the river. We could see them laying their eggs in the gravel. It was really pretty cool. And then we went on back to Puerto Varas, and we had a beautiful sunset, a great meal at night. And then the next day we woke up and we traveled to Ancud. So as we drove to Chiloé Island, we actually stopped by a community where Oates is helping the school and helping the people improve the quality of their lives. And we actually got up the drone and we let the kids fly it. We had a great time. The kids loved it. We got to see all the cool things they did. We went in their classroom. We played with them. It was just a great time. Then we went to a little quick community store. We saw all the vegetables and fruits. And then we went to someone's home and they cooked for us, and it was absolutely amazing. They're Polynesian in their ancestry, and so they cook in the ground and they put the chicken in there, and then we put the biscuits in there, and we saw how they weave the yarn and the wool from the sheep. And then they also dye the yarn in onion skins to get the color. It's just fascinating. Then we had a fantastic dinner with mussels and sausage and chicken. And it's just really great to be able to be embedded with the people. We celebrated Morgan's birthday. It was a great time. And then on to Chiloé Island. We rode a ferry across there. And Morgan and Carlene are reenacting the Titanic scene. They're so funny. And then Pili gives us an overview of the island and all the different places we're going to be traveling to. So the next day we went down more into the interior of the island, down to a dolphin island. And of course, Santi is always drinking his mate, and that is really a cool thing. And then we went to this cool little village where they made all this great food and restaurants right on the water. And we just had a super time. And then this village was just the perfect place to run. And so I got out my iPole and I went for a run. It was just really, really a cool place. And always looking for interesting places as I travel around the world for the 5th time. And then back in the bus and back across on another ferry and over to Dolphin Island. And we saw a fisherman's village where they bring all the harvest in from the ocean. A lot of seaweed. They dive very deep. It's very cold. And look at the size of this cabbage. Is this crazy? It's twice the size of this guy's head. And then we went to the churches of Kilauea Island. And this is very fascinating because they're made out of wood. And they're from 1730. These things have survived that long, and this is a Japanese method of restoration. They actually show where they replace the wood. They don't try to make it perfect in terms of painting over the top of it. This church was really spectacular, absolutely beautiful and well preserved. And of course, we always want to give you a perspective from up above so you can see the village and the town where this church is set into. All the churches are faced towards the ocean because the steeple is used as a lookout for ships as they come in. Everywhere you go in Chile, the dogs are friendly and it's just so much fun to see them. And then we had a fantastic lunch of fish soup that Santi recommended. And then we went to the museum where they show all the restoration panels and how these people who were really boat builders built these fantastic churches because of the joinery they mastered being boat builders. So they had all these little kits that show all the different kinds of woods they use, as well as the different joints they use. And they used these joints because they held up to the seismic issues within Chile. So they allowed the building to move a little bit, which is a very important thing. They built all these churches out of wood. Pili always gave us a great lecture. Of course, she's a PhD, and it was literally like a college class. And we were able to get some great pictures of the beautiful town of Acund that we stayed in. And it was just a very beautiful place and extremely interesting as we move on now to southern Chile.
So we got up early in the morning, went to Puniwi on the west side, but first I got up and I ran, did 3 miles out in the rain, and I collected some of the neighborhood dogs and they all ran with me. It was a hoot. I had more fun with these dogs. They followed me all the way back to the hotel. And can you believe it? They wanted to keep running.
Good job, man. Good run.
We approached Puniwi. We stopped at a lookout. The weather had really turned nice for us. We had some great footage of the island and people fishing along the coast. As we neared our destination, we got out on the coast and there's a great lookout point. And we're so fortunate because the weather has just been really on our side. This is one of the rainiest places in the world. It rains feet, not inches. That's the way they measure it. Normally always cloudy and rainy, but here we are on a day where the sun's actually poking through, and we got to see this beautiful coastline. It was just really spectacular, and our bus driver goes down onto the beach. I couldn't believe this huge bus driving along the beach to meet the boats that would take us out to see the penguins. And how ingenious and clever is this? You have this little trailer, they put you all in and they roll you out there so that you don't get wet. These guys are really on top of it. Then the boat goes out in the surf, and the surf's pretty big, man. And then we go out across all these rock croppings. It's just absolutely beautiful. And as we approached the island, the captain ran up to the front of the boat and he said, "Hey, let me see your binoculars." And he looks through the binoculars and he goes, "Yes! The penguins are here." Now, we're the last trip of the season. We did not expect to see this, and there are actual penguins there, and this guy's trying to get in the water right there. It was so cool to be able to see all this. These are the birds that Darwin saw. So this is really a special time, and this island was hit pretty heavily by the tsunami, and this island was actually split in half, and it created some really interesting outcroppings of rocks and everything. But we saw all kinds of things, this flightless duck, which was really interesting. Here's another pair, a male and a female, and a sea lion right here. Then after a half hour of seeing all this amazing wildlife on these 2 islands, we headed back in, and we had a wonderful lunch right on the beach in a little restaurant. It was a beautiful spot, and then back across the beach to drive out in this big bus. It was the craziest thing. Our driver was awesome. So as we got on the ferry to go back to the mainland, I asked the captain, is it okay if I fly my drone around the boat and get some great footage? He said, sure. He gave me a thumbs up. I said, I promise I'd put him in the movie, and there he is. We had such a great time. Wow, the weather was perfect. The people on the boat were awesome. The whole crew dug it. They were totally into it. I got their email. I'm going to email them the video. They were so excited to see this all happen. The tough thing, though, was landing it back on the boat when the boat's going 25 knots, but I was able to do it. Morgan assisted me, and I got the drone.
So we continued south down to Punta Arenas, the tip of South America. We had a great flight in. It was not too turbulent. Normally it's super windy down here. This is where the winds are so strong and it's almost unbelievable. We got off the jetway and the jetway was super insulated, thick, about 2 feet thick, large tubes, because it's so frigid down here normally. Now, when I got up in the morning, it was cold and it was rainy, but it never stops me because that's what I'm doing. I'm running around the world. I got up early in the morning when it was dark and I ran all through the town and I had a great time. Next stop, Torres de Paine, one of the most spectacular national parks in the world. But on the way out, we stopped by a replica, life-size replica of one of the 3 ships that Magellan used when he discovered the Magellan Straits. And that's significant because the Magellan Straits allowed ships to sail safely, for the most part, around the tip of South America. If they had to go through Cape Horn, it was treacherous. There were shipwreck after shipwrecks there. And when you consider how Magellan survived this brutal climate in a ship that's like so antiquated compared to the standards that we are used to, it is really remarkable. We got to go on board the ship, and then we continued our journey north along the Straits of Magellan and out into the countryside, which was so beautiful and ever changing. And we saw so many amazing things like these gauchos driving cattle, and later on we would see the gauchos driving the sheep. And we stopped at this incredible little coffee shop out in the middle of nowhere, and I have to tell you, it was so charming, and the sun came out and it just changed everything. And the countryside was, well, it was beautiful, and we were lucky because it wasn't windy. And then we came across 3,000 sheep on the side of the road, and our bus had to stop as the sheep went by. And the gauchos were incredible. They were driving these sheep with about 10 different dogs and about 4 gauchos. And as we traveled along, the landscape changed. The mountains got bigger as we approached the most magnificent national park, Torres de Paine. And we began to hike and walk around, and it was absolutely jaw-dropping. We got into our hotel and we could not believe the view from the restaurant. And then of course I had to go running in one of the most spectacular places on earth. And then we went on a hike and we went out to a peninsula where we could see the glaciers, and it was just fantastic. And again, we were pinching ourselves. The weather was perfect. I actually took off my coat after a while, it got so warm, but I ran all the way out and ran back and across the bridge, and it was just an amazing time. And in the evening, Santi briefed us, and I just couldn't believe the backdrop as we learned about what we would do the next day. These are the mountains in front of the windows in our hotel. It was absolutely crazy. We had so many great pictures that we got to take. Every time we turned around, there was another viewpoint that was just overwhelming. Whether we were looking at the glaciers or the riverbeds or the magnificent mountains with their pointy overhangs and ledges, it was just incredible. Then we'd wake up early in the morning and begin our journey from Torres de Paine to El Calafate. And as we drove along the road, we saw all the changing landscapes. And of course, Lisa finally got her phone after 8 days of being without it. And Caroline gave us a great overview of the life of a gaucho. And we stopped at this beautiful memorial and we poured a can of beer over it. That's their tradition. We got into El Calafate at night just as the sun was going down, and it was absolutely spectacular. The sunset was overwhelming. We went down to the water. We walked along the waterside, and then we went into town and we had lamb, and we had fantastic food again. Of course, the food on this whole trip was unbelievable. I stopped at the grocery store, got some of my favorite produce and huge peaches. These are just incredible. And then of course the dogs, because the dogs always ran with me in the morning. There are dogs everywhere and they're so friendly and fun to be around. And in the morning, I got up super early and went running. And the dogs came with me, of course. They went along the boardwalk with me and jumped up on the ledge. And so I had a great early morning run. And then we were in the bus and out to the most spectacular glacier I've ever seen. And of course, on the way out, we saw all kinds of different changing landscapes and wildlife. And Caroline gave us a great briefing of everything we were going to see. Her historical knowledge and just her background was just incredible. It was just like having a history lesson. And then we got out to this glacier. This glacier was mind-boggling. And if you're patient, you're going to see some amazing things like this capping. Look at the size of this piece that fell off right in front of us. It created these huge waves in the bay. It was just fantastic. The weather, again, was ridiculously good, and of course I had to run in front of some of the most spectacular scenery I've ever seen. So I got up my eye-pole and ran along there. Then we got in the boat and we went down to the glacier, right down on the water, and we were on the road again.
So we got into Buenos Aires and we went to our favorite restaurant, the Gross Cafe. We had a fantastic meal, and then we went to this tack shop or a gaucho store that had the most amazing, beautiful things. And Sophia helped us out with all of our purchases. And we saw the dog walkers in Buenos Aires and just a hustling, bustling town. And the next day we got up early and we went to Iguazú Falls. And man, the weather was beautiful again. It was on our side, and the vapor from the falls was staggering. I went running in the morning on all the catwalks before anybody was out. It was absolutely crazy good, and right out to the edge of the falls to do my morning run. Now these falls are massive, and guess what we did next? We got in a boat and we went up the river, and I'm telling you, I thought it was going to be cool, but I had no idea what we were about ready to get ourselves into. These people put us right on the edge of exciting. We thought we were going to be in for this calm little boat ride, but it was just the opposite, man. I've been on the Snake River before, but this blows it away. This was such an epic journey. We had a fantastic time, so exciting. We got completely drenched. We weren't really prepared for that. At the end of the day, it was worth all of it. And this toucan greeted us when we got back home to the hotel. Did you have a good time? Of course we did. We're in South America. And then we ended the evening coming to the point where three countries come together. We're in Argentina, the end of the Iguazú rivers where we go in the falls. This is Brazil, and there's Paraguay, and there's a big city out there.
Which is Argentina.
What a day. Okay, Lisa and Morgan, we're at the end of our trip. What do you think?
Epic.
It's been amazing.
Why?
South America, wine, food, culture, nature. Ugh, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah? So you like traveling now?
We love traveling.
We're hooked.
Yeah, and I'm so glad I got to experience it with my beautiful bride.
Yeah, well, we're glad you came along. It was a blast, wasn't it?
Yeah, sunrises at Easter Island. I mean, waking up and having breakfast at the Torres de Paine National Park. I mean, driving from one end to the other end of Patagonia. I don't know. Yeah, unreal.
What was your favorite part, Lisa?
I think today might have been going
Yeah.
under the waterfalls.
It was
I mean, we were
crazy.
right under the waterfalls. I thought we were going to go on this casual boat ride, like you said, and we ended up being just crashing down on us. I was like, my
You guys were like
gosh.
two kids, man. It was fun watching you.
Oh,
Amazing.
Everything's been amazing.
It was great.
The wine, the food.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a wonderful honeymoon.
Okay, we'll see you on our next trip.
Oh, absolutely. New
Okay.
Zealand.
All right, there you go. So for some reason, this trip is a trip that just keeps on giving. Every time we think we get to the end of it, something else happens that's even more incredible. So we only have one day left, and what do? We go on a helicopter ride over the falls. It was crazy. Leanne and I boarded up into the helicopter, and man, did we get a view. that was absolutely breathtaking. This was worth every penny of it. It's hard to understand really just how big these falls are. Millions of gallons a second fall over these things. And we looked at it from every perspective, from up on top, from Devil's Throat, from down below on the Argentine side, which was absolutely crazy beautiful. And there's so much volume of water. It's literally like a rainforest down there. And you just put on your ponchos, you go in there and you get soaked, but it doesn't matter. You just have a fantastic time. Beautiful, beautiful scenery everywhere we went. We actually got to go to the operations center where they keep all the helicopters, because Morgan's a helicopter pilot. He has his own company. He wanted to see their operations. They had a couple Eurocopters in there and a copter just like Morgan had, the MD, and it was just, wow, beautiful. We made some great new friends and great new contacts on the Brazilian side. And then in the morning, Leanne and I got up super early and check out these guys. We were the first ones out to Devil's Throat. Leanne and I didn't get to go out there. Morgan and Lisa and Dana got out there, but we went out there with these guys and we had more fun. Look at this guy balancing. And of course, I had a great place to run all by myself. Got out to Devil's Throat. Not a soul was out there. And I received a view and an experience that was unprecedented. Look at this. Wow. And no one's there. That shows you getting up early in the morning is worth it. Look at what I got to experience.
Look at this. Wow! This is a place to run, yeah? Wow! Look at this.
So whatever you do, don't miss part 2 of Running Around the World. And I'm going to continue the journey on to Iowa, back to Bellingham, then on to Kazakhstan, Japan, and then back home again. And we will complete this epic journey. So look for part 2 of Running Around the World and enjoy some of these closing pictures from this amazing journey all throughout South America and focusing specifically on Patagonia. What a place. Don't miss this. Put this on your bucket list. It is so exceptional.